with this.
I'm saying you Googled what you thought nationalize means. You don't have a plan, and we're spending 10 minutes discussing a hypothetical plan based on Trump's saying. Did not say how he was going to nationalize.
He said,
my point was
take over the election, nationalize
the voting.
Nationalize the election.
We have states that are so crooked that they're counting votes. We have states that I won that show I didn't win. Trump is saying he wants to nationalize the elections.
So if it's not clear to you guys already, it is clear most definitely to me that Donald Trump knows that the midterms is going to be a bloodbath for Republicans. And that's the reason as to why he is trying to do a power grab in regards to the things that he's speaking about when it comes to the way that elections should be held at a federal level rather than a state level. In this clip, we're going to see Abby Phillip and the CNN panel literally deal with a Donald Trump supporter who tries to justify what Donald Trump is trying to do in regards to elections and elections being at a federal level as opposed to being at a state level. As usual, let's watch this clip in full. I'm going to sprinkle my thoughts throughout, but I'm going to give it to you mainly towards the end. Let's get into it.
If it's not clear yet that Donald Trump wants to interfere in America's elections, consider the following. He said he wants to nationalize elections. He regrets not seizing voting machines in 2020. And his intelligence chief actually did seize voting machines late last year in Puerto Rico. He's ordering said intelligence chief to go to FBI raids on election offices in Georgia. He wants to ban mail-in voting around the country. He's still pushing disproven conspiracy theories, and yet he is still lying about losing the election.
The Republicans should say, we want to take over. We should take over the voting in at least 15 places. The Republicans ought to nationalize the voting. And we have states that are so crooked, and they're counting votes. We have states that I won that show I didn't win.
Remember, states run their own elections. That's according to the Constitution. And it's also notable that Republicans have been saying this for a long time. Trump and Republicans have long accused Democrats of trying to nationalize elections.
They want to federalize the elections and make all the elections run like California. That's a huge problem.
It's a lot harder to hack 50 states than it is one computer system here in Washington, D.C., but that's what we're talking about, and you can't sugarcoat it.
My Democratic colleagues have tried multiple times to force through an election takeover bill that would federalize voting.
Federalizing elections, indulging in all sorts of progressive wish list items.
The Founding Fathers were clear that states are the primary managers of elections.
I urge my colleagues to vote against this federal takeover of our state's constitutional right to manage their own elections.
That's why top-down federal mandates usually do more harm than good. We've shown America what's possible when the federal government gets out of the way and allows states to lead.
What happened to that?
Well, I have a great question for this panel. I mean, everything those Republicans said in that montage was true, right? Democrats have pushed and they voted on, and every single Democrat except for one voted for the People Act, which takes all of the Democratic policies regarding elections from voter registration guidelines to ballot qualifications to mail-in voting rules, everything, and nationalized the elections. That's what the For the People Act would have done. Democrats touted it, they supported it, and every single one of them, save one, voted for it. No one freaked out and said that they were trying to interfere in the elections. No one freaked out and said they were trying to steal the elections, but they actually had a plan, a congressional plan to do just that, and no one said, and no one got hyperbolic about what he said.
Where in the For the People Act does it say that the federal government needs to take over the elections because states are just the agents of the federal government and that federal agents need to count the votes? Did it ever address that?
But you're getting all that from Trump simply saying,
yeah,
we should nationalize it. Trump's quote in that piece.
We're talking about this because Trump said
Trump's quote in that piece was nationalize the election.
Democrats have never suggested having a central administration of elections, a central counting of ballots. That has never been on the table.
You're presuming all that from the one thing you said in that video was nationalize the elections. We should nationalize the elections.
You brought up the For the People Act. Tell me where in the For the People Act it says that Democrats want to nationalize
after you tell me where in Donald Trump's one sentence to Dan Bongino, said that he wanted to basically have a central repository and a thing. He didn't say that.
He said
they should nationalize
Republicans should say, we want to take over. We should take over the voting in at least many 15 places. The Republicans ought to nationalize the voting.
Nationalize the elections.
We have states that are so crooked that they're counting votes. We have states that I won that show I didn't win. Trump is saying he wants to nationalize the elections. The argument I've been hearing from Republicans this week, and I think it's a fair one on voter ID and other things, is that the federal government has always had, and it's in the Constitution too, a role in setting the floor, the basic rules for the conduct of elections across the country. So whether or not it's motor voter, whether or not it's, the voting age, whatever it is, that's been the purview of the federal government. So the For the People Act falls into that category. What Trump is talking about, though, is nationalizing the election, but for one purpose, which is to show that he won in places that he didn't win. I mean, how do they justify this?
Well, they can't justify it. I mean, it's unconstitutional. It's clear that the states and their political subdivisions run elections. It's true the federal government has stepped in from time to time, motor voter, the Voting Rights Act. There have been other times where they have stepped in to basically make it easier to enhance the franchise for people. But this is indefensible. And by the way, you go to a Republican governor in any state, do you think they're going to want Washington to come in and run their elections? This has no this will never go anywhere in the Congress. I can't imagine Republicans voting for anything that resembles what we talked about.
Well, I thought I was having a stroke for a second. So I had to because you heard that comment and then you were like, he didn't say that. So I was like,
he did not say how he was going to nationalize.
He said,
my point was
take over the election, nationalize. So
I just wanted to. Abby laid out a whole bunch of hypothetical situations that he would do, none of which he said in that comment. Not one of them.
I was really confused because I was like, maybe
I didn't even read the part where he said the agents should count the votes. He also said that.
I for a second thought I didn't understand what nationalize meant based on that back and forth, so I just Googled it real quick because I wanted to just make sure we were all working off the same premise of a word, because he said to nationalize the election, and what it means is that the national it says control of the national government. So the national government controls the elections. That is what, when I taught English, I would have told my students to use context clues, look up the definition of nationalize, and that meant that the national government would control the elections, and that is what nationalize meant, and that is what Donald Trump said. That is not what was in the For the People Act. It did have provisions about voter registration. It did have provisions about motor voter rules. It did have provisions about gerrymandering. It did have provisions about the voting age of 18. It did have all those provisions, but it did not say, it still allowed for state elections to be administered by state officials, secretaries of state. They would work better with the federal government to make sure to get rid of people that I know Republicans love to purge so much because they may be deceased or they've moved and they're.
That's a good reason to purge them,
so,
right?
Yes, but the For the People Act.
That's a good.
Yes, but the For the People Act had that in there. The nationalizing of the election doesn't actually have it in there.
Well, it doesn't exist, right?
Because he wants it to exist.
I'm saying you Googled what you thought nationalize means. You don't have a plan, and we're spending 10 minutes discussing a hypothetical plan based on Trump saying.
What words mean when you.
But guys, sorry, I just got to chime in really quick. Is this guy all right? Is he all right? Donald Trump said the word nationalize. That's what he said. She looked up the definition of this is Republicans. This is an example of MAGA. This is why Donald Trump says he loves MAGA, because they're not that smart. Smart people don't like I don't understand what he's trying to do. Is he trying to just play with words? Is he trying to be naive? Is he trying to be stupid here? I just don't get exactly what it is that he's trying to do. Donald Trump said the words nationalizing the election. She's looked up the definition of nationalizing, and the For the People Act is nowhere near the same as what it is that Donald Trump just said. And now he's questioning why they're spending 10 minutes talking on it. But you're the one who tried to make the comparison in the first place.
I don't know. I also would like if there's a plan for the plan to be public. But I also think that Trump has also made it clear that if he had the opportunity back in 2020, when he lost that race, instead of conceding, he would have just gone down to Georgia and seized the voting machines. And now they've gone and raided the elections office there. They've gone to Puerto Rico looking for fraud, seizing voting machines. I don't know. I mean, I think sometimes with Trump, it's hyperbole, but he also now has the power to do a lot of this stuff.
I think that's the important part, is that it's not like these comments are just happening in isolation. It comes after he has already shown a willingness in his first year in return to office to use the power of the federal government to further his claims of election fraud. I mean, he has basically tasked Tulsi Gabbard with finding evidence that that does not exist after Republicans looked the whole time that Biden was in office. And not only that, it's coming as they have sued certain states or have proposed to certain states to let them see their voter rolls. Remember, in Minnesota, they said to them that they would get ICE up out of there if they would just get access to their voter rolls. I was asking around saying, what is their plan for this? Like, why are they kind of asking these states for that? The thought is that they're trying to build their own national voter registration. That is what nationalizing elections means. They want what they're calling a level of oversight. For a lot of people, feels like a pretense, and I think that is a fair feeling to have, considering this is someone who pushed their own false claims throughout 2020 and culminated with an act of violence on January 6th. I mean, we cannot just take Donald Trump figuratively at this point, because he has already shown a willingness to not only push the envelope, but to incite violence on this front. He has never lost an election and claimed that it was true. I think what's different about this, maybe this year, is that he ain't on the ballot. So he'll just say it's the other people's fault.
Well, we'll see. I mean, the midterms are going to be the first major test of how this goes down with Trump and his Justice Department, what they're going to do. All right, next for us, the right.
I mean, honestly, man, it's just, I just don't understand the way that it is that MAGA think. I don't. And even if this guy wants to say that, Joe, I believe his name's Joe, even if he wants to say that he's not MAGA, which we know that he is, it just doesn't make sense. The whole sequence of what just took place, like Donald Trump said the words taking over, nationalizing the election. So that's what it is that he wants to do. So if that's what it is that he wants to do, and then Ashley, who was sitting next to him, Googles the definition of it, and she makes it clear to him that that's not what it is that For the People Act was about. I just don't understand what the argument is here. What you said was wrong. You have to take it on the chin and you move on, you keep it moving. But that's not the case. As we know, MAGA always have to bend themselves into pretzels to try and justify what Donald Trump is doing, so that is that they can seem to show Donald Trump, look, I'm for you, I'm for what it is that you're trying to do. Absolutely crazy, but it's no surprise, because this is them, this is what they do, and this is the reason as to why, unfortunately, the rest of the world is looking in at the United States of America right now and we're thinking to ourselves, what the heck is going on over there? This is a guy who is completely out of control, who the right Republicans they cannot control, and they have no authority in what it is that they're trying to do. He says jump, and they say how high, but it's no surprise. Let me know what your guys' thoughts are on this clip, on this exchange, and this MAGA donut doing his best to try and defend Donald Trump's power grab, which is just unconstitutional. Let me know your guys' thoughts in the comment section below. While you guys are down there, do me a favor, hit the thumbs up button purely for the algorithm. And if clips like these, along with my commentary from the outside looking in, as a man who lives over the pond from the United States, is of interest to you, do me a favor, hit the subscribe button and also turn on the bell notification so that you get notified every single time we upload a brand new video. Appreciate you guys, and I'll see you guys in the next clip.